So thank you for making it to your first Meet Magento Romania. Hopefully we'll see you more. Obviously a very interesting and challenging field, the field of AI. We see a lot of things happening in this field in general, from autonomous cars to Google Duplex and other interesting case studies. And it's great to see this coming also to the Magento ecosystem. My first question would be, what implementations of AI would you see as being the first steps that will make it to e-commerce implementations for merchants?
For merchants? So I think there's opportunities abound. It's still early days. Obviously, like I discussed today, recommender systems are a great place to start. There's also a lot being done in imagery, and so adding attribution to your catalog. There are systems out there for that. There are certainly success stories here. Maybe look for SaaS capabilities that you can quickly add on, try out, see if if they work with your target market, and then just experiment and iterate.
And how do you see the merchants, even the big ones, competing with the juggernauts of the industry like Amazon?
I think we always see that there is incredible capability that a few innovative companies will pioneer, and we see that this then trickles down. Our job, obviously, as a commerce platform, is to make these capabilities readily available as quickly as we can. That's always in the forefront of our mind. When is something that we can take from a single use case that maybe one giant enterprise has, one Amazon has, and then make it available for many merchants across many different verticals. Working at Adobe, what's fantastic is we have a lot of research, a lot of brain power put into this now that we can tap into, that we can democratize access to these capabilities more quickly, and then reduce the lag in these innovation cycles.
Yeah. So obviously the first players that will be able to benefit from integrations with AI from Adobe will be the big players, the Fortune 500 companies. How do you see this trickling down to the smaller merchants? Would it be in the form of perhaps a platform as a service type of offering, like the ones that Anton and Igor mentioned on stage, with order management and with other services that are becoming a separate subscription type services? Would this work for perhaps smaller merchants?
So I think, first of all, Magento, we're certainly still focused well beyond Fortune 500. And excitingly, our product recommendation offering, which is an AI-based offering, is being incorporated into Magento Commerce. So that will be available to Magento Commerce merchants to use as part of their subscription. So I think, in these scenarios, we're looking to drive these capabilities into our broader Magento ecosystem, our merchants. And so also, I think a lot of these systems will be deployed as software as a service or platform capabilities, but we're also looking for how to seamlessly integrate them into Magento, so that you can have the flexibility of the Magento's offering and then our newer AI-driven capabilities all seamlessly integrated.
Yes. One of the recent discussions in the recent years was about voice assistants being more and more in charge of shopping. How will this affect the e-commerce system in general? Because if you ask a voice assistant to buy something for you, there might be an algorithm based on which it picks a certain store or the other. How will merchants keep up with this and not lose everything to the very big players in the market? That's
right. So we need to make sure that we disintermediate the handful of systems that are now in place, that are in my pocket right now, that's in your house, my house, through which these large vendors are able to answer these questions without inviting us into the interaction. But I think there are two fronts. On the one front, we're certainly working on capabilities to understand human language and then to drive that into e-commerce. It's very early days. This is research-focused activity, but it's certainly something occurring. And secondarily, even these big players that love owning the relationship, there are ecosystems that they need to build, and I think shoppers will be savvy to knowing that, wow, it looks like I ask Amazon, I ask Alexa a question, and I always get an Amazon answer. And so I think, as these systems right now, they're much more proprietary, they're much more advanced, but with all technology, this gets democratized, and people want choice, and if we believe in people, we'll be there to help provide that.
Great. You had some examples on stage of deepfake photographs of cats and humans, and we are already seeing some discussions on the internet about how this will affect the stock photography in general. Adobe being a player with Adobe stock, how will this affect the marketing people working with stock who can perhaps generate images on their liking, and how will this affect the rest of the stock image industry in general?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think there's always opportunity, and certainly Adobe views itself as an enabler of the creative community, and so not just providing powerful capabilities like Photoshop, but also a platform like Stock for creative people to participate in an ecosystem where they can be rewarded. That being said, there is incredible opportunity and innovation occurring in the generation of images. It's still early days. But as always, there will be technological disruption. What's maybe exciting isn't about replacing human creativity, but augmenting it and then potentially personalizing it down to each individual interaction in the experience. So if you're shopping, if you're interacting with a brand, yes, there'll still be photographers in the world. Yes, they'll still be using Photoshop and other capabilities, and using and then allowing an ecosystem of Adobe Stock, et cetera, to connect that back to merchants. But I think we can do innovative, powerful things to then personalize and connect that imagery and that the experience down to each individual shopper. And that's very exciting.
Right. And about deepfake, which might not be related necessarily to e-commerce, there's a lot of concern that certain deepfake video and audio implementations might affect public opinion, perhaps even be used in politics. How do you see this being counteracted by AI? Will we have AI detectors that this is a fake?
We actually have an open source, I believe it's open source capability that Adobe has released so that a person can run an image through the software and see if Photoshop was used for the software. The world is an organic place. New things are invented all the time. Some of them are used in ways that we never anticipated. And then we have to think about how this impacts society. And the good news is there are research scientists and innovative people everywhere that deeply care about the technologies that they build and wanting to make sure that they're used correctly. And so they'll work just as passionately on potential countermeasures or ways that we can verify the information that we receive. It's an incredibly important issue for the 21st century, for the modern era we live in. And there's no easy answer, but it's something we all need to fiercely care about.
First time when you see it, it's unbelievable, but it's a reality today.
That's right.
My final question would be, and this is, I think, quite a popular question for AI-related topics. What do you see as being the main trends that will happen in 2020, or perhaps trends that will mature and we'll see implementations for them?
I think that, if you look across the last 10 years, there was all this hype around personalization, and it's been applied to some degree, and certainly we see industry leaders that have done very well with it. We've all gotten used to consuming media, interacting with social media in ways that are highly personalized. And so what I expect to see happening now, and certainly what we look to do research on, is how to achieve a level of personalization that has been long promised, but we've historically, I think, under-delivered on in commerce and in digital. And so hyper-personalization is a term that is getting thrown around a lot now, but really I think what it maps to is what we should have withheld and not called previous attempts at personalization in the first place. So I think we'll see a lot of innovation there. I think conversational commerce, like we discussed a moment ago, will start to creep in a little more. I think people will be surprised by, and certainly we're experiencing it, how natural it is to actually converse, or how natural it will become. And so that might become the preferred modality in some scenarios. Certainly there'll still be screens, but we'll see innovation in all these fronts.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.